I want you to break this down.
Today that my mother raised me, but I never had a relationship with her. And there's a difference between being raised and having an actual relationship, because raised means I put clothes on your back, shoes on your feet. I make sure you get to school, you look presentable. I teach you what I know, but I don't necessarily foster a healthy relationship with you. I don't get to know you. You don't get to know me. We kind of just coexist in this world because I'm your mother and you are my child. And I was thinking about the fact that a person asked me recently, what is your relationship with your parents like? And I said, well, I'm not that close to my parents like I would want to be, but this is not because I didn't want to be close. This is because the only way that I can be close is if I tolerate disrespect, or if I tolerate being used, or if I tolerate being half loved. And because I'm in a season where I'm learning to love myself and learning what healthy boundaries are, I'm not even allowed to tolerate no type of trauma or disrespect from the people who I call my parents, right? But when you tell people you don't really have a close relationship with your parents, they often look at you like you're the problem, as if, as their child, it's your responsibility to keep that relationship intact, like relationships are not a two-way street. I'm saying all this to say a lot of us were not relationshiped, we were raised. A lot of us didn't learn to be seen or validated or understood. We learned to be raised and to not ask no questions and to just tolerate whatever.
If at any point you want to stop on any part of the video and jump in, let me know and I'll stop it.
Okay.
Whatever happens, right? And people often wonder why I'm so close with my friends, right? Because my friends, they have shown me what genuine unconditional love is, right? And I feel like when you have family, family is almost like an excuse to just do whatever you want and be able to get away with it, right? Your family kind of will just disrespect you, abuse you, treat you any kind of way under the premise of, well, that's your mom, that's your dad, that's your sister, that's your brother. They feel like they don't have to treat you right. They don't have to respect your boundaries. They don't have to see you. They don't have to support you. You are family. They don't have to do anything for you except be related to you. But here's the thing. Relatives don't mean relationship. Just because they're related to you doesn't mean they have a relationship to you. And this is why when you have people in your life that meet you as a stranger, but then soon become your friend, you begin to feel like that's your actual family. But I'm saying this to say, y'all gotta stop shaming people who don't have good relationships with their parents. It's not on the child. 9 times out of 10, if a parent and a child has a messed up relationship, it's something the parent did or didn't do. And we don't like to say that, right? But the child is only as much as its parent and the one that's bringing them up, right? And I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash from the moms and dads who feel like I did the best that I can, but sometimes the best that you could do was still not good enough. Sometimes the best that you could do was still trash. Sometimes the best that you could do still results in trauma. Sometimes the best that you could do still results in your children being wounded from you. Not because you meant to, but because your best was rooted in trauma, because your best was determined on your parents' best, and your parents were abusive, right? And I had to tell one of my sisters this maybe a couple of months ago, that when she said my kids should be happy that he didn't get the same treatment that we got, because when we were coming up, we were getting beat, we were getting done dirty, we were getting this and getting that. And I had to remind her, I said, sis, don't raise your children based on the premise of our parents, because we didn't necessarily have good parents, right? If you measure your parenthood based on our parenthood, you will still abuse your child, because you shouldn't be comparing yourself to parents who abused you. Right? You shouldn't be saying, oh, well, my kids got it better than I had it because I was getting beat every day, but you verbally abused them, right? If you're going to measure yourself up against any other parent, it should be the ones who you know are really 5-star parents, slow to anger, very patient, talk to their kids, have relationships with them, but do not measure your parenting to your parents' parenting, especially if your parents were abusive, because you will end up passing down abuse to your children based on the premise of saying, hey, at least you didn't get the upbringing that I got. But I'm saying all of this to say,
I'm gonna pause it. I'll pause it. So I was thinking, because some people, it's I don't know. I what she's saying is that whenever a child is not talking to their parent, it's majority of it is that it's the parent's fault for that. I would say, I think that a lot of children do have to go through a stage of learning their own identity apart from their parent, because a lot of parents, they have expectations of you as a child. So in some cases, some people feel as though there was just so much pressure. Um, Also, that tends to happen when people get married as well. Like once you're about to get married, the parents feel like they're losing you. Like the mom feels like she's losing her son, or the mom feels like she's losing her daughter, or vice versa, the father does. And their identity was really wrapped up in being a parent. And so certain situations that happen in life, it will really bring out, I wouldn't even say like abuse. Sometimes they just feel like they're going to lose you, so they become very controlling. And it just so happens that certain seasons in our life can really, those things end up happening and coming out. And you have to kind of no contact or distance yourself, not because of necessarily your parent is like, oh, just this abusive bad parent. Because I understand some parents saying I tried the best I could. I think that some situations are seasonal, where they feel like they're losing their child in somewhere in there. We're humans. When we feel like we're losing something that meant so much to us, that we love so deeply, it's by our like natural instincts to want to control it, to keep it. But then in other cases, you really did deal with a very narcissistic parent that's like, never validated you, was verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, and so on. So I think that it's case by case. But that was just like my opinion and my thought with that. Because just even coaching, like there are people that come to me who it that didn't happen until they got married, and then their parents are feeling like, I don't have as much access to you, and they get now possessive and mean and cruel to the spouse and all of those things. So that's why that was my opinion on that.
All right.
Just because you raised your kids didn't mean you established a relationship with them. I'm also saying that when you meet a person who doesn't necessarily have a close relationship with their parents, it's not because they didn't want to. It's not because they did something wrong. It's not because something is wrong with that person. 9 times out of 10, they've tried to foster healthy relationships with their parents, but for whatever reason, it failed. Maybe the parents are in a state of arrested development. Maybe the parents won't take accountability. Maybe the parents continue to abuse, manipulate, mistreat. Maybe there's no rekindling. Maybe it's just too far gone to forgiveness. For me, it's not that I don't have a relationship with my parents. I just fully understand that in order to have a relationship with them, it would have to be rooted in a trauma bond. It would have to be rooted in me laying down my personal boundaries and saying, hey, I'm going to keep on forcing this relationship. So now I have both of my parents in my life, but I don't necessarily have a relationship with them. It is as much as, hey mom, how you doing? Hey dad, how you doing? Good, good, good. Everybody good? Okay. I love you. Hope everything great. We'll talk soon. Happy birthday. I'm sending you some flowers, sending you a bouquet. I'm doing whatever, whatever, whatever. But as far as talking to you about my personal life and walking with me and being able to have parents to call on, parents at my events, or to support me through things, that does not exist for me. Not because I don't want it to, but because I have parents who have chosen their own path and to live their lives separately from their children, not to be involved with their children, not because their children didn't want to be involved with them, but because they never created the capacity to be involved with their children. Therefore, stop judging people whose parents are not around. You never know the circumstance or the situation.
I agree.
So, um, I just started seeing like these trends of people having the same kind of outcome, and I kind of pay attention to that because in the macro, I think there's a major shift happening right now where people have too much, well, not too much information. They have the right information to make better decisions now. And they're just doing what makes sense for their own mental health, taking ownership of their mental health versus waiting for somebody to tell you, hey, you got a problem, And I think the more we start sharing these stories, people can kind of put their lives in a better perspective to make the decision that says, "Hey, I'm taking ownership of my origins and my direction." Because your origin is one thing, your direction is what you determine. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so the the I think a large part of your life you live doing what you want to do until you get disciplined enough to decide that I got to do the got to do's have to be separated from the want to do's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything that you want makes you feel good. Everything you got to do makes you pause for a second and take a deep breath before you go do it. You know, I got to take out the trash. Oh, I got to go work out. Oh, I got to go to this appointment. You know, I got to go to therapy or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So, but then after you experience that, your wants are more rewarding. So
I agree. I think, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you got it. You got it.
No, I think when dealing with like a parent or a family, like you have to also learn your own identity outside of them. So I think breaking off of the family is good for character development and understanding yourself. And I think it will, like I said, bring out a lot of in them where their identity was really wrapped up in the child. And that's like, where they don't take accountability. They're not taking ownership. They're getting controlling, possessive, all these things. And it's feeling very suffocating. And so I think parents and children need to go through sometimes some of these cases, they need to go through a season of learning how to be part from the parent. Why I say this too, is I'm thinking about like the son as well, that's with the narcissistic enabling mother. And in order for him to ever break free from codependency on a woman and really learn his masculinity, he needs to go through a season of separation from her to really develop and have his own identity. So, and she needs to learn that her identity isn't wrapped up in her son loving him. So I think it holds each other accountable, both hold each other accountable when you're going through a season of like being apart from your parent. That's what I think.
How much of your coaching and counseling that you provide, how many more men do you think deal with this than the women, or less?
Women deal with it far more. There was one male out of all the men that stood out as it's affected him, the narcissistic abuse from his mother, and he was struggling so hard with his emotions, almost like he was like the female. But majority of it comes from women struggling with their mothers. And so I really think I see more men have a better understanding much quicker of how their mother or their father, what they did or didn't have, really affected them, and they've done the work. And I see a lot more women struggling to understand themselves and how much their mother has impacted them and their emotions. It's like black and white, day and night. Like you can see the difference of how men process things. And I think it's by handling things more inwardly, where they're really like, they kind of shut down, but they really think back and have to sit back and evaluate all their emotions, is why they get to that place much quicker versus women. So, and I think it can affect both people. I just only seen one man really struggle with it and has struggled to do the work. It's mostly women that are really struggling. So,
yeah. Okay. I'm going to throw another video up here and keep you on your toes.
I'm out here doing my walk, and if you ask me, I have come to the conclusion that men are not lonely enough. Men aren't lonely enough for me. They're just not. Men are not lonely enough. Men need to be put in isolation. I think caution tape. I think warning labels. I think anything that a man has ever done, there should be a fact sheet that is attached to this man so you know what you're getting into. Men are not lonely enough. And as a woman, I firmly believe that if you want to maintain a certain amount of safety, the further you are from men, the safer you will be. There are so many examples of this, from social media to TikTok, different shows that people binge watch. I'm looking at Love Island. I am looking at Pop the Balloon. I am looking at the Man of the Year trend. I am looking at I Am Happier Now, that trend that's going on. I am looking at different shows like Nelly and Ashanti. What the hell is going on with Nelly? That's a whole different issue. How are you jealous of your child? Yeah? How are you not willing to help parent the very offspring that you brought into this earth? That's a whole nother issue. I'm looking at the Diddy trial. I'm looking at the Tyler Perry lawsuit. I am looking at just the most hideous and violent and villain-like and insidious and psychopathic behavior coming from men. And men wonder why there's a male loneliness epidemic. Who the fuck wants to deal with that shit? Y'all need counseling and isolation. Counseling and isolation. Because it's wild to me that people believe that they are going to find the love of their life if they wade through all of this crap. And ladies, I'm sorry. Does it require ego death? It does. You may not find the love of your life. You may not get the partner that you want. You may not have the male companionship that you seek. But I know for me as a woman, I would rather eat good food, have good friends, live a full life with fun, adventure, a good career, some pets, some land, maybe grow something, than sit around and ruin my mental health, my physical health, my financial health, chasing a fucking man. These dudes are princesses. Like, listen. Ladies, leave these men where they're at.
It's always like the women with the whatever this is that are loud and.
All right, folks. Appreciate you sticking with me to the end. This has been another episode of Beyond the Algorithm. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Go get the book. And most importantly, I will see you beyond the algorithm, because that's where life actually happens.